Hello and welcome. My name is Evgeny Rusakov and you're watching TVP World, interview from Vilnius. The victory of Donald Trump, who promised to end the war in 24 hours, was received in Kiev with great wariness. Many believed that Ukraine may be left without American military aid and the country's NATO membership process will be frozen. Trump's real plans for Russia and Ukraine are still unclear, but that doesn't mean we cannot discuss them with our today's guest, a political scientist from Institute of International Relations and Political Science, Nerijus Maliukevičius. Hello, Nerijus, and thank you for joining us today.
Hello.
Nerijus, first of all, how do you assess that Donald Trump's statement about those 24 hours and finishing the war in just a day?
I mean, this was not just an electoral campaign statement. It was one of the kind of a primary, slogans he had. So he has to deliver on this statement. So I think starting already now, his team, he himself is thinking about how to deliver on this promise. And I think when his term starts, this will be one of the first endeavors that he will get engaged in, and he would be pressured by his opponents, his opposition, on exactly this statement. Is he, able to deliver this? Is he able to broker peace in 24 hours? So I think we should just take it as a given, and still use all this time we have and rethink our support strategies in case, American strategy is directed towards kind of a cutting back, military support as a resource, as a factor in those negotiations for peace.
From what we know, from what we've heard, all of the plans do not really look promising for Ukraine. What's your take on this?
I think the most important thing is to accept this uncertainty that Trump brings with him. And uncertainty means that we do not know yet whether his plan for peace plan for Ukraine is a plan of surrender or surrendering, American military support, or really a hard kind of a push on Putin and then brokering the peace on better terms, for example, for Ukraine. What is definite about Trump, he's quite unpredictable, and this unpredictability goes both ways. We in Europe need to rethink how we invest militarily and economically in supporting Ukraine's, victory. But at the same time, Putin, I'm not sure, is quite comfortable with this whole uncertainty. And it's not quite clear how things will proceed. So uncertainty probably is the new norm of Trump's policy. And actually, this is quite an interesting strategy in many fields, in fields of economic negotiations, diplomatic negotiations. He is a deal maker. He publicly, declares this. And this uncertainty becomes his strategic asset in some aspects.
Okay, but let's not forget that all this time during his presidential campaign, he was criticizing the US military aid. Yeah. So do you think this somehow might change after he becomes the president and gets more information on how the things are going on?
I think definitely this position will be balanced in a sense with all the information he gets on all the geopolitics of the situation and so on. But we have to understand that basically his position on American help for Ukraine was based on pure economic principles throughout, electoral campaign.
Plus, he had to criticize Democrats.
Absolutely, yeah. He had to criticize the existing strategy, but his position was that the priority should be finances and economy, subsidies inside United States, basically, and that all other, spendings were just infringing this situation. His main message throughout elections was deteriorating economic situation in United States, and he kind of linked, economic military help to Ukraine with this narrative. How it will develop, later, we need to listen attentively. I would, for example, pick one example on a recent decision of Biden's administration to let some of the weaponry be used on some of the Russian territory. We are not sure yet
exactly?
what decision is all about, but it appears to be quite a significant change on policy. But I would invite everyone to follow reactions in Trump's camp. Trump personally, throughout those several days, he didn't voice any kind of
He's
negative.
Preparing. He's preparing.
Yeah, could be. His team, yes, his son already kind of criticized this and so on. But I would say he could be preparing for negotiations with Putin. One may say that Biden just simply gave Trump one, a serious factor in negotiations with Putin, because this kind of a decision is now on the table, and then he can pressure, Putin in some way or another way. So this is quite uncertain situation, and we will see how he proceeds with his decisions.
Who do you think would be the main advisor to Donald Trump? Elon Musk or J.D. Vance?
I mean, I don't see Elon Musk as a long-term survivor of
In Trump's
universe.
Okay.
I would say that in Trump's universe, there's just one, ego person, position.
Trump.
Exactly. I may be wrong, but I really think that this kind of two charismatic persons are too much for Trump universe. On the question of who really will have a say in Trump's, presidency and environment, I think one has to really follow who he puts trust in, his personal trust. And from past experience, I would say his family, his sons, his son-in-law are very important in some decisions. Some of his old friendships play a role. So it's not a traditional, institutional president that you can kind of calculate the influence by some position of some personality. So I think one has really to follow who he's close to whom advice he, listens from onset, and we will see.
Okay, again, Donald Trump. Do you think he really understands that this war in Ukraine is not just a fight for territory somewhere in Eastern Europe, but a confrontation on the level of what the rules of security will be in the world, and the fight for global leadership as well?
Yeah, I think he perfectly understands, already being a president for one term, he perfectly understands the workings and the rules of the game and geopolitical arrangements of global politics. I think his main, idea, agenda is basically that, United States for many years, decades, basically was overstretching its resources, its capabilities, and many were basically free-riding this. And I am very critical of our own European approach towards our own security. I think we just need to remind ourselves his rhetoric of defense spending in NATO countries and how he pushed us to really invest more and more. I think as regards to Ukraine, his agenda could be similar to this kind of a budgeting question. He could push for more involvement of the same Europe into defense of our own borders and defense of
I'm just thinking
Ukraine.
that is really fair.
Yeah,
I mean, we are here. We are, well, the war is not far from us.
Absolutely. I mean, one can take, it's always you can interpret, is the glass, half full or half empty. And the problem is that in one aspect, yes, we are now investing more in our defense. Yes, we would probably start cooperating more in trying to help Ukraine and so on. But there is a backslide to that, meaning that, there is less trust in US involvement in defense arrangements in Europe. There is less trust in many issues, and this is why we are investing more. This is why we are starting to seek for alternatives, defense alternatives, and so on. And that can be a bad perspective because our Lithuanian security vision, Polish security vision, our regional security vision depends on US being here in Europe.
But what if it's not?
Yeah, and if it's not, then this is the big question that comes together with those new policies in Trump administration.
One last question. So according to the advisor to the head of the office of the president of Ukraine, Mikhail Podolyak, Europe needs to reconsider its relationship with Russia. So I do agree that is a very wise advice, but what exactly in this relationship should be reconsidered? Briefly.
I cannot speak on advisors' behalf, but what I really, how I relate to this position is that even in facing Russian aggression against Ukraine and basically against Europe, we are not still ready to pick up the challenge and to really kind of gather our will to fight this new type of aggression, new type of historic confrontation, and so on. We are still somehow lingering, in this process and so on. Usually, I say, back in Cold War days, there was this kind of a battle, a confrontation of two ideologies. Nowadays, we have a new type of Cold War. It's just not about ideologies. Putin doesn't have a really selling ideology for the West or globally. It's a challenge of different governing systems. So it's the alliance of authoritarians versus the alliance of democracies. And we already can see how Russia and China and North Korea and Iran are cooperating.
Breaking rules.
Yeah, absolutely. And they are kind of cooperating into challenging us, challenging our democratic processes. So my point, which maybe be related to advisor's point, is that we cannot win this new type of Cold War without picking up the fight, meaning that defending our democratic processes, if we are speaking about malign information operations against our electoral, processes. That means that we have to attribute those kind of attacks. We have to. Those attacks have to have consequences, and so on and so on. But I think there is still a lack of political will, especially in big European countries, to engage in this new type of kind of a competition.
Let's hope that happens one day. Nerijus,
let's hope so.
Thank you so much for being with us today, and I really hope to see you once again.
Thank you for inviting me.
And I would like to remind our viewers that our guest for today was a political scientist from Institute of International Relations and Political Science, Nerijus Maliukevičius. You're watching TVP World. Stay with us.